All right, so I want to start this off by saying, yes, I know that is the box to a 4090, and there is not currently a 4090 on this table. I want to say that right there, that is a RTX 2070 Super. It is an average size video card. That is a 3070. I'd still consider that to be average. The game controllers, got a Steam Deck, and of course, the big kahuna that is the 4090. This thing is large. It's not really wieldy to say. Like if you compare it to the 3070, which would be, I'd consider this to be a fairly average card. Most people probably have something this size or a little smaller in their system. If you compare that to the 4090, just in terms of girth, the 4090 is 4 times, or not 4 times, but twice the size. Yes, it's only got it is a 3-slot card, so it connects to 3 different slots. But when you put it in your case, this is actually a 4-slot card. So it is 4 slots, it is longer, fatter, taller, bigger than anything we've ever seen before. It's large, it's a 600 watt cooler on a video card. This particular 4090 is the MSI Gaming Trio, so keep that in mind going forward for all my benchmarks. And it, like every other 4090, has the 600 watt 12-pin connector with the 4-pin addition. It's got a dual BIOS. It's a good card. It's insanely fast, but it will be getting returned. That is no fault to the card itself. It's a $2,000 graphics card. I can't really afford to keep it around, so it's getting returned. And this is the 12-pin to 3 8-pin adapter. On these adapters, do not use pigtails. So a lot of the times on your power supply, you're going to have an 8-pin and then a little shorter other 8-pin. You don't want to use that on these cards. So they're just not great to use for that. I have benchmarked it. I've seen what it can do. And I don't want to spoil anything, but you already know the results. You already know how fast this card is. And you know that I benchmark all my games at ultra settings, whatever resolution. And before we get into the benchmarks, I want to say that the only purpose for this card is high refresh rate 4K gaming. So if you are one of the few people who have a 400 or a 4K 4K 144 hertz panel, buy this card. You'll love it. Otherwise, you are honestly wasting your money. So let's see what it can do. All right, so before we get into numbers, let's talk about the test bench itself. So I put the 4090 into my main rig, which is an i7 12700K with 32 gigs of DDR5. That's going to become pretty important later on. But as you can see in Cyberpunk 2077, if you look at the top left corner, you'll kind of see our usage on parts and our average frame rate. So over a 2-hour play session, we averaged 66 FPS with a minimum of 30 or 43 and a maximum of 93. We didn't really have any stuttering, no hitching, anything like that. But when we were on our feet, out of the car, running around on foot, we averaged about 20 FPS higher than we were when we were inside of the car. And I also did run into some driver issues. I think it's with DLSS 3.0, or at least I thought I did. And then I turned DLSS off. The map was looking all kinds of screwed up. That's a driver issue. That's going to happen with new cards. You get a new card, things are just going to be weird for a little bit. Moving on to Ready or Not. And I think Ready or Not is actually going to be pretty important just because it is on the Unreal Engine and it is a more advanced version of that. So I think that, it's going to be very indicative to a lot of games' performance in the coming days. But anyway, after about 2 hours, again, of playing Ready or Not, we averaged 150 FPS at ultra settings at 4K with a minimum 77 and a maximum of 206. It's absurd. This card is insanely fast. Oh my goodness, that's ultra 4K. I have a 144 hertz monitor. And this card is just maxing everything out. We did have, in Ready or Not with the, being on the Unreal Engine, I didn't see any really graphical issues or anything like that. So I think that the driver is mature enough to work with Unreal right now. Let's move on to the next one. And Call of Duty Cold War, I think, is going to be pretty important, especially because if you're, into Call of Duty, they're all on the same engine right now. As a matter of fact, they're even on the same in-game launcher. So how did we do? Especially because, for whatever reason, I couldn't get MSI Afterburner to show an overlay in Cold War with the 4090. I can get it to do that with every other video card I have, just not the 4090. But, again, after about 2 hours, we averaged 160 FPS with a minimum 57 and a maximum of 196. It was pretty similar performance to Ready or Not, just a little bit higher on the FPS spectrum. Alright, and our last game today is Battlefield 5. Tested Battlefield 5, it's, I know it is an older title, but it's Frostbite. It's going to be very, all the Battlefield games are going to perform very similarly. It's one of the more demanding games on the market, and still has a fairly good player base. So how did we do? Again, average a 2-hour play session. We had 185 FPS with a minimum of 85 and a maximum of 200 even. So why is our average so close to the maximum? That's because my CPU isn't fast enough to keep up with this card. Just plain and simple. This RTX 4090 is so fast that in some games a 12700K isn't fast enough. A high-end CPU from earlier this year. The 4090 is bottlenecking my 12700K. Or other way around, my 12700K is bottlenecking the 4090. You know what I mean. Point is, who's this 4090 for? Certainly not for me with a 12700K. This is for people with a Ryzen 7 5800X 3D or 12900KS. This chip is so fast that the only practical use case for it, if you are a single display gamer, is if you have a 4K 144Hz panel, like I do, and intend to play all of those games at 4K 144Hz. Battlefield 5 has a game engine limitation where the maximum allowable FPS is 200. That's why our maximum is exactly 200. And our average is so close. I never saw 201, I never saw 202. So, realistically, if you're thinking about buying this card, and you have anything less than a 4K 144Hz panel, or a specific use case that you need this for, don't buy it. It is a waste of money. You would be better served with a 3090 Ti. Granted, that 3090 Ti, I don't have one, but performance numbers are showing that the 3090 Ti is roughly 30% slower than the 4090. Between 30 and 100% depending task and, all that stuff. But on average, about 30% slower. A 3090 Ti would be a much better fit for a vast majority of people. It is slightly slower, yes, but right now you can get those for about $1,000, which is $500 less than this. It's it's 2/3 the price for 75% performance. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let me know what you guys want to see in the next one. I think I'm going to do a video, because I got a couple graphics cards from a GPU miner. And I kind of want to see if that's going to do anything. But yeah, see you guys in the next one.